In the second year of the Guangxu reign, a drought struck 75 prefectures and counties in Hunan, causing a drastic reduction in the summer and autumn harvests. Liu Ting's family had little land to begin with, and to make matters worse, the drought intensified the following spring, withering the wheat seedlings. The family's remaining grain was barely enough to keep one person alive, so he left it for his wife and set out to find a living elsewhere. Traveling north, Liu Ting arrived one day at a small village in Shandong near the Yellow River. Just as he entered the village, he met a middle-aged man. Liu Ting asked him if he needed a long-term laborer. The man looked Liu Ting over and said with approval, "What a sturdy frame. My family happens to need a long-term worker. I wonder if you'd be willing." The man told Liu Ting that he had a patch of watermelons growing on the river flats that were beginning to bear fruit, and he needed someone to tend the vines and guard the patch. Liu Ting was delighted to hear this, as he had grown watermelons before and was very familiar with the work. Seeing that Liu Ting had agreed, the man hesitated for a moment before continuing. "The wages are definitely generous, but let's be clear up front, I don't want to deceive you. That stretch of the riverbank is often haunted. 2 men from our village have already been killed by a ghost." Liu Ting had been enduring the elements, hunger, and cold on his journey. He thought to himself, starving to death or being killed by a ghost, it's death either way. I'll at least have a full meal first. Even as a ghost, I'll be a well-fed one. So he accepted the job, hoping to earn some money to send back to his wife. That evening, the weather was exceptionally hot and stuffy. Unable to bear the heat, Liu Ting went to the river to bathe. Just as he got back to the shore, he heard a woman crying. Liu Ting followed the sound and found a woman, with only a strip of white cloth wrapped around her waist, sitting by the riverbank hugging her knees and weeping. He quickly turned his back to her and stammered, Ma'am, what's wrong?" Through her tears, the woman told Liu Ting that she lived upstream. Her husband was a gambler who would beat her whenever he lost. The day before, her husband had lost a lot of money, and creditors were pressing him for payment, so he planned to sell her to cover the debt. That morning, when he went out to find a buyer, he worried she would run away, so he didn't let her wear any clothes and locked her in an empty room. The woman had desperately broken down the door, grabbed a piece of white cloth to wrap around herself, and fled the house. Ignoring the shocked areas of people on the road, she ran along the riverbank, remembering that her parents' home was downstream on the opposite bank. The woman choked back sobs, saying,
"It's getting dark, and looking like this, I don't know where I can go. I thought about jumping into the river, but then I thought of my elderly parents." Sigh.
Liu Ting comforted her, "Ma'am, you have to look on the bright side. If not for yourself, you must think of your parents." Seeing that she had calmed down, Liu Ting continued, "For now, ma'am, you can wear my clothes. I'll go to the market tomorrow and buy you a couple of new outfits." Liu Ting went back to his hut to get his own clothes for the woman to wear. By then, it was dark. He gave the mosquito net in his hut to the woman, while he himself lit some hemp leaves at the edge of the field to repel mosquitoes, lay down, and fell fast asleep. In the middle of the night, the woman came out of the hut, walked quietly to Liu Ting's side, and watched him for a moment before silently returning to the hut. The next day, Liu Ting went to the market and bought the woman a set of clothes. Dressed in women's attire, she was revealed to be a beautiful young lady. Liu Ting said to her, "Ma'am, where is your parents' home? Tell me, and I can have a boatman take you across the river." The woman said blankly,
"Sir, I don't know either. I only remember that the village we lived in was called Wangjie Village."
"As long as it has a name, that's good. I'll go to the village this afternoon and ask around," Liu Ting said as he prepared to cook. "Let me, big brother," the woman said, rolling up her sleeves and getting busy. That evening, Liu Ting, as usual, lit hemp leaves at the edge of the field to repel mosquitoes and laid out some soft grass. Just as he lay down, the woman came to his side. "Is something wrong, ma'am?" Liu Ting asked. The woman stammered for a long time before saying,
"Big brother, I have no way to repay your kindness. If you do not despise me for being a ruined woman, I am willing to give myself to you."
"Sister, you're mistaken. I had no ulterior motives in helping you. By saying this, You are cheapening my good intentions. Liu Ting said, displeased.
Big brother, I know you are a good person, but there is no one else in this wilderness. Besides, I am willing.
The woman said, leaning closer. You are a shameless woman. You may not care about your purity, but I care about my reputation. Liu Ting said sternly as she approached. Hearing his words, the woman covered her face, wept, and silently returned to the hut. The next day, the Yellow River's water level suddenly surged, with high water and strong waves, and no boatman dared to set out. Unable to leave, the woman had to stay. She apologized profusely to Liu Ting. He, being soft-hearted and knowing she only meant to repay his kindness, accepted her apology. He said to her, "It's not proper for an unmarried man and woman like us to live together. It will inevitably cause gossip. I will recognize you as my sworn sister, and from now on, we shall address each other as brother and sister."
Xiao Taohong thanks you, big brother.
The woman gave Liu Ting a traditional curtsy. Xiao Taohong helped Liu Ting every day with weeding and trimming the vines, and she cooked and did laundry for him. Her cooking was delicious, and Liu Ting praised her skill. In the evenings, Xiao Taohong often sat at the edge of the field chatting with him. A few times, she stayed late into the night, and Liu Ting had to shoo her away. In this way, Xiao Taohong stayed for half a month, and the river water began to subside. One day, Liu Ting excitedly told Xiao Taohong that the head boatman had said the boats would run again the next day. Hearing this, Xiao Taohong was stunned for a long moment. That night, she came to the makeshift tent Liu Ting had set up and hesitated for a long time before saying,
Big brother, I've been wanting to tell you something, but I was afraid that if I did, you would no longer accept me as your sister.
Xiao Taohong said, wiping away tears. She told Liu Ting that she was actually the ghost of a woman who had been sacrificed to the river. Because of her resentment, she could not enter the cycle of reincarnation. She hated the men who had sacrificed her, so she took the form of a woman to lure men by the river. If the men she met had evil intentions, she would take their lives. Before Liu Ting arrived, 2 men had already died at her hands, which was why the landowner couldn't hire anyone to watch the melons. She had originally intended to harm Liu Ting, but his righteousness made her unable to do so.
Big brother, thank you for being my big brother for so long. Meeting you has been the happiest thing to happen to me in all these years.
At first, Liu Ting was terrified to hear that she was a ghost, but seeing her sad and helpless, tear-filled eyes, he couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Liu Ting asked how he could help her. Xiao Taohong cried,
Big brother, my sins are too great. You can no longer help me.
With that, she covered her face and ran towards the river. By the time Liu Ting chased after her to the riverbank, Xiao Taohong was already gone. Liu Ting shouted at the river, Sister, your brother will definitely help you. The next day, Liu Ting got an advance on his wages from his employer and hired a Buddhist master. From the time the melons were harvested until the patch was cleared, the master chanted scriptures by the river for her for 1 session each morning, noon, and evening to help her soul find peace. That night, Liu Ting had a dream in which Xiao Taohong said,
Big brother, thanks to you, I can now enter the cycle of reincarnation and be reborn as a human. I can never thank you enough for your great kindness in this life. I can only repay you in the next.
Liu Ting was very happy and returned home with his mind at ease. He told his wife about his encounter with the female ghost. His wife said, You used half your wages to give his sister a new life. What you did was wonderful. Soon after, Liu Ting's wife, who had been unable to conceive for many years, became pregnant. 10 months later, she gave birth to a beautiful daughter. The girl had a special bond with Liu Ting and loved to cling to him. As she grew to be a year old, she began to look more and more like Xiao Taohong. Only then did Liu Ting understand what Xiao Taohong meant by repaying him in the next life. The story of Liu Ting and Xiao Taohong is a soul-stirring ode to humanity. In a chaotic world intertwined with famine and ghosts, Liu Ting, with his pure kindness and adherence to righteousness, not only delivered the tormented soul of a resentful ghost, but also reaped warmth and happiness in a future life. This story tells us that true strength comes not from worldly wealth or power, but from the compassion and integrity rooted deep within the heart. The attitude we choose in the face of adversity determines the direction of our lives. Liu Ting's story inspires us to remain true to our hearts, no matter our circumstances, to resolve resentment with kindness, and to warm the world with sincerity. Because sometimes an unintentional act of kindness can rewrite destiny.